Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Today is the 25th day of March. 25th day of March. This is the 60th episode of season 3 of the Be Your Own Hero show. So it's a milestone day. Episode 60 of season 3. The Be Your Own Hero show. Hero is an acronym. It means helping everyone. Reaps optimism. In other words, helping others helps you. It's a reciprocal action. I'm your host. I'm Sekou Wrights. I'm a professional creative and the creator of the Hero Ministry movement, soon to be a nonprofit, knock on wood. And where am I going next? Oh, shout out to New Thought Media Network for allowing me this space and this opportunity to be here and talk about my journey of becoming my own hero. So Hero Ministry movement is my effort to uplift and inspire people in general and specifically the unhoused population. Join me here Monday through Friday, 9:45 a.m. Eastern, 8:45 a.m. Central, 7:45 a.m. Mountain Time. And if this show feeds you in any way, please like, please comment, and please share. Spread the word. All the information is in the show notes just below, depending upon where you're watching. It's usually just below on Facebook and YouTube. All right, quick disclaimer. I am not a personal trainer, nor am I a financial advisor, so take what I say with a grain of salt. Do your own due diligence. In other words, rely on yourself first and foremost. Rely on yourself. Okay, so today, I said the date, and this is season 3, which is the season of doing. There was something else I wanted to say at the top of the show. Maybe it was just that it's a milestone day. Maybe that's it, just that it's episode 60, so it's a milestone day. So anyway, let's move on. Let's get into the Hero Ministry Movement news. I'm not going to show the run report today, but it's up. Today's run report is up, and just the very quick summary of it is I feel more like myself today. And the punchline of that is conventional wisdom would have told me to stop after I got back from Alabama and I was feeling so tired and sluggish. Conventional wisdom would have told me to stop. I didn't stop, but I did make some adjustments. I slept more, I ate more, and my body recalibrated. So there's lessons in doing. There are lessons in doing. If you just do, you'll discover things for yourself that you could not possibly find in a book. Yeah, you'll learn things for yourself that you couldn't find elsewhere. So I encourage you to do some doing out there in the world. Okay, so today is day 298, if you can believe that, which means the magical number 300 will happen over the weekend. So there won't be a show that day, but check the social media because you know I'm going to pitch a fit on social media for day 300. So tomorrow is half marathon training. I haven't trained with the half marathon team in a while, so I'll be training with them tomorrow. And so that should be good. And yeah, so send me lots of positive vibes for day 300 in advance. I'm very excited to be reaching that milestone. I mean, I can't believe I went from a goal of 30 to now reaching day 300. So my original goal was 30 days, and now I'm about to reach 300 days. So mind-boggling. And then from there, it'll only be 65 days. Oh, where's my sheet? My mom made this little sheet showing me that that May 31st is 365 days. Shout out to Mom for doing the math. So day 365 will be May 31st. So I'm going to go 366 to round it off to circle all the way back to June 1st. So once I get to day 300, it'll be literally only 66 more days. Wow. So I've got an idea for 1, possibly 2 more charity runs to include in these final days. So stay tuned for that. Okay, moving on. Check out the run report on social media. Because there's always some lessons in there. Like even when I rewatched them, I'm like, that was an interesting thing I said, because I don't think in advance about what I'm going to say. Unlike this show, where I think in advance about what I'm going to say. When I do the run reports, it's just off the cuff, so there's no telling. And sometimes there's some lessons in there. Matter of fact, my mom the other day was repeating back to me one of the frequent themes. I was like, wow, there's themes in the run report? Yeah, so anyway, check those out. All right, moving on. Envelope challenge. Let's Let me roll the dice on Friday. Here we go. It fell, but the numbers won. Easy day. Numbers won. Move $1 from your checking account over into your shiny new savings account that is going to be used for investing, specifically for investing. Because, again, the number one excuse that people use for not investing is not having money to invest. That's why we're doing the envelope challenge, to create an investment bucket, a purpose-built fund for investing. So if you're not doing it yet, do it. Today's a perfect day. $1. $1. You can open an account at your usual bank, at your current bank, with a couple clicks. So open it online, transfer $1 in, get yourself going. Okay, moving on. Morning Zen. Oh, I didn't do Morning Zen today. I didn't do my Morning Zen. So let me tell you what happened. I was working on a work assignment last night, and it was really frustrating me. I was up late last night, and I couldn't figure it out. Fell asleep with the laptop open, and then finally got myself to bed in the middle of the night. And then when I went to bed for real, I thought, let me set an intention to solve this problem while I sleep. I haven't done that in ages. But I said, all right, I am setting an intention to solve this problem while I sleep. And I woke up early, as per usual, and a few minutes into doing what was going to be the beginning of my morning practice. So I did the beginning of it. A few minutes into the beginning, the solution popped into my head. And so then I scrambled into the office to check to see if the solution in my head was actually the solution in real life. And it was. And I was like, look at that. Look at the power of the mind. Look at the power of the universe. The power of setting intention. Power of setting intention. That's important. You have to set intention, or none of it works if you don't set your intention. So anyway, I'm going to read you what I just remembered I read this morning for my morning practice. I read from the Dalai Lama's 365 day devotional guide. So I thought this was interesting. This is not the day, like I'm a couple of days off, but he calls these the 6 perfections. And I thought just knowing this list is powerful. So this is his list of the 6 perfections: generosity, ethical discipline, tolerance. Tolerance, I feel like we could use compassion. Look at me remixing the Dalai Lama, but still, I feel like compassion might be a better word than tolerance. Anyway, generosity, ethical discipline, compassion, joyous effort, concentration, and wisdom. So basically, he's suggesting that we ascribe to embody those 6 things, and he calls them the 6 perfections. And yeah, if you embody those 6 things, your life would be amazing. So I'm going to read them again: generosity, ethical discipline, compassion, joyous effort, concentration, and wisdom. The 6 perfections according to the Dalai Lama. So that was the extent of my morning practice before I had the experience I just told you about. And then I moved on to solving that problem for work. So I think I'll move on. I was trying to decide if I was going to give you one from TikTok. All right, here's one from TikTok. One from TikTok is when you're meditating or when you're being mindful, focus, then notice, and then redirect. Focus, notice, redirect. Focus, notice, redirect. So the idea is, if you say, I'm going to focus on my breath, or I'm going to focus on visualizing the flame of a candle, I'm going to focus on the sounds around me. When you set that intention, almost immediately, something else will pop into your head, because that's the way the mind works, the monkey mind, right? So notice the monkey mind, notice the distractions that pop into your head, and then simply, gently redirect yourself back to whatever it was you set as your intention. So focus on your intention, notice the distraction, and redirect back to your focus, back to your intention. All right, so I got that from TikTok, believe it or not. All right, moving on. So let's get into abundance. Let's do our affirmation as usual, as new usual. We're going to do it twice, once for the words and once to really say it with feeling. I hope you guys are saying this at home. I hope I'm not just saying this myself. This is for you. This is for both of us, so we can all do it together. So again, I want to read the affirmation for us to memorize the words, and then I'm going to do it again for us to imbue feeling into it, to make it into an incantation, not just an affirmation. All right, so here we go. I am so happy and grateful to be a multi-millionaire in every area of my life. And once more, with feeling, I am so happy and grateful to be a multi-millionaire in every area of my life. Get it into your bones. That is the secret sauce, according to the experts. The more we recite feelings with emotion, the more we emotionalize them, the better our subconscious can grab onto them and make them manifest. That is the secret sauce. So apply that. Okay, that's it. Oh, shout out to Tim. He said, happy Friday, heroes. Yeah, happy Friday. Happy Friday indeed. Okay, so speaking of which, since it's Friday, let's do a recap of the week. A brief recap of the week. Oh, my quick reminder. Let me not skip over that. If you only spend, you'll what? You should know this by heart by now. If you only spend, you'll stay poor. If you only save, what? You'll stay middle class. And if you want to be wealthy, you must invest. You must invest. It's not optional. You must invest. Okay, so weekly recap, or recap of the week, rather. So I spent most of the week talking about Alabama. Just a reminder, I traveled to Alabama with Black Men Run initially to document and help with a 51-mile relay race from Selma, Alabama to Montgomery, Alabama, in homage to Bloody Sunday, which was one of the 3 marches led by Martin Luther King Jr. in March of 1965. That the successful march eventually led to the passing of the Voting Rights Act, which ended segregation in voting, ended discrimination in voting. But the first one was a debacle. The first march was stopped almost immediately by state troopers who attacked the marchers and beat them bloody, hence the name Bloody Sunday. So the run was paying homage to that incident way long time ago. And my role was initially to be a driver, to move the runners around from place to place. But one of the runners didn't show up, so I got called into service to be one of the runners and actually to run the anchor leg, the final leg of the relay from the outskirts of Montgomery into the capital. It was a phenomenal experience, and I'm still unpacking lessons from it. But I wanted to circle back to 2 of those lessons. One is answer the call to prepare. Whatever the call is, answer the call. Like, as Rev Melissa says all the time, the universe is communicating with us all the time, constantly. But we often don't pay attention to the universe because it's not as clear as a voice speaking to you. It's all these other things, these coincidences, these things we notice. Like, if we pay attention with the idea that the universe is speaking to us, then we're getting messages all the time, right? So if you're getting messages to do something, do it, because you don't know what it's preparing you for. So my example from this race is I had no idea. I had never even heard of such a thing, a 51-mile race from one city to another. Never even heard of such a thing. But I answered the call of service to myself to start running in June of last year and to keep running consecutively. So now we're at day 298. But because I've been running every day, I was able to answer the call to jump into this race at the last minute. Even though that wasn't my intention, it wasn't my plan. I was like, yeah, I can do it. I know I can do it because I've been running for all these days. So the point is, you never know what you're being prepared for. Answer the call to prepare. That's one lesson I got from this experience. Another lesson, even more profound, is even when you feel like you're lost, you're not lost. So if you remember the story, once I got into downtown Montgomery, the signs that I had been following stopped. Let me say that again. The signs that I had been following stopped. They vanished. I got this intersection with all these spokes in different directions, and there was no arrow. There was no arrow. The signs vanished. So I had to make a decision about how to move forward. Right. So if you are in a space where you're looking for signs and you don't see any signs, don't take that as anything but the opportunity to choose. That's the universe saying, you choose now. You choose now, and I got your back, but you choose now, and I will support you. So I made a choice. I told you, I looked up for skyscrapers, and I started running towards skyscrapers. And that decision was supported along the way. It was supported by members of my team happening to walk out of a restaurant and seeing me and joining me to run with me. You know, it was supported by faith, really, my faith that this is the right way. And then me ultimately finding something that looked familiar when I kept running in that direction. Right. So yeah, you just got to make a choice. Even though it feels like you're lost, you're not lost. Make a decision. The universe will back you up and will get you there. Your GPS, your internal GPS is working. Just make a decision. Doesn't matter what decision you make. You just got to make a decision. Like, you know, my decision to run toward the skyscrapers was pretty arbitrary, but that decision was supported by the universe. And I got there and we placed. So that means that I still made good time. You know, on my leg, I still made good time, good enough time for us to place. So those two lessons really stood out to me. I hope they resonate with you. I hope they apply to your life. I think that last one can apply to a lot of people because often we look for signs from the universe about what to do next. And if you don't see any signs, that means it's time for you to decide what to do next and wait for the universe to support you in that decision. Okay, other things we talked about this week. We also talked about what I've named the Shaq Buffett theory. And I'm deliberately mispronouncing Warren Buffett's last name. Oh, I didn't, did I? Shaq Buffett, I didn't. But I was trying to call it Shaq Buffett. Shaq Buffett theory. Basically, I'm combining both of their theories about percentages into one theory. So Shaq said he learned from someone else to save is not the right word, to invest 75% of his income and to splurge on the other 25%, right? So if you do that, then you feel like you're living a little, like you're still having fun with the 25% of unexpected revenue in my situation, in my case. 25% you splurge, 75% you invest. And then the Warren Buffett side of it is what to do with that 75%. And Warren Buffett says 90% index funds, 10% bonds, done. So I've adapted that a little bit. My intention is to go 90% index funds, 5% bonds, both of those just because Warren Buffett said so, and he's worth $114 billion. He's already done the research. I could just trust it. And then 5% to play around with, to experiment a little bit. But then 95% is pretty sure. Now, what I've done in terms of bonds is because I don't know that much about it, I understand that it's debt. It's investing in debt, which is an interesting concept. So basically, the bonds are loaning money to other people, other entities, and you're making money off that debt. So what I did is I bought into an ETF. I literally Googled ETFs for bonds, and I looked around and I chose one that I liked. And I chose ETF because I didn't want to continue doing the research of trying to choose one bond because I don't know that much about it. Easier to buy an ETF, which is a number of bonds put together. So it automatically mitigates your risk and gives you exposure to a number of different bonds at once. So that's my bond play. As long as it does well, I'm just going to stick with that, keep reinvesting into that bond, my 5% into that bond. My 90% is going to continue to go into the S&P 500 and also VOO, which is Vanguard's S&P 500. I'm also acquiring QQQ, which is an index fund based on the NASDAQ 100, which is big companies that are involved in tech, like Google, let's say. All right, so those are the funds that I'm looking at. Do your own research, decide what to do. But again, the idea is follow the percentages of these two multi-millionaires. Shaq is probably a billionaire too. These multi-billionaires, so that we can ride their coattails to financial freedom. So 75-25 split and then 90-10 split. Or as I'm suggesting, 90%, 5%, 5%. So we talked about that this week. And what else did we talk about? Oh, we also talked about the fact that when the world is on fire, when there's things going on in the world that are kind of crazy, make the world unstable, the stock market tends to go on sale, which means that some of the known commodities, like the components of the S&P 500, for example, tend to go down, which is a great time to acquire a full share or even a partial share of one of those S&P components, S&P 500 components. So when I say S&P 500 components, I just mean the 500 stocks that are contained within the massive S&P 500 index fund. These are 500 of the biggest companies in the United States. All of them have multi-billion-dollar revenue. Multi-billion-dollar revenue. I think the number I used before was 40 billion. I'm not sure about that, but multi-billion-dollar revenue. So these are safe bets. And as I've talked about before, I always have to fight my urge to try to find the next big thing. Don't try to find the next big thing. Just play with the stocks that are in the S&P 500, or even better, the FANG stocks. That makes it even more specific, even more narrow. The FANG stocks are Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. Of course, Facebook has changed its name to Meta, but still, those are the FANG stocks. And those 5 FANG stocks are contained within the S&P 500, right? As are the other 3 stocks we talked about this week. I told you I was watching this motivational speech by a guy named Kaplan Mowbray, and he asked for people to shout out the first brand that came to mind when they thought of coffee, when they thought of sneakers, and when they thought of French fries. And the 3 answers most predominantly were Starbucks, McDonald's, and Nike. All 3 of those companies are also in the S&P 500. It's hard to go wrong with the S&P 500. So when in doubt, just buy another share of the S&P 500. But that said, we did this experiment, I guess it was yesterday, where I talked about how if you spent $250 on any of those 3 stocks 5 years ago, you'd have made some money. I chose those numbers on purpose because 5 years ago is not so long ago that you can't remember what you were doing in 2017. And $250 because I feel like all of us could have afforded a spare, quote unquote, $250 in 2017. So if you had invested $250 into Nike 5 years ago, you would have doubled your money. If you had invested $250 into McDonald's 5 years ago, you'd have an extra $100. If you had invested $250 into Starbucks 5 years ago, you'd have an extra $340. So the math is there. These big companies have stocks that do well over time. The stock market tends to reward patience. And again, these 3 companies are included inside the S&P 500, which actually inspired me just this morning to look up one more. Oh, let me say why I looked up one more. Because when I talked about these 3 companies, and when I talk about it out there in the world, people, myself included, have this I missed the boat reaction. Like I always get stories back about how people had the opportunity to buy such and such stock and they didn't, and they missed the boat. And there's this sadness about missing the boat, right? Now, I have plenty of those stories for myself. Let's be clear. I got plenty of I missed the boat stories. But that's where mindset comes into play, right? Because we're shifting our mindset about those missed opportunities. They aren't missed opportunities. They're lessons. They're lessons. Because if we feel like we missed out on such and such a stock because we didn't buy in on it then, and we see how successful it is now, that's the lesson. The lesson is it works. You had good instincts. You had good instincts about that company, or you had a good opportunity that you missed on a system that works. On a system that works, because now you see how much money that stock is worth. So just don't miss the boat. You know what? Miss the boat is not even a good metaphor because the boat is still in the harbor. The boat is still in the harbor. Like, yeah, if you missed out on buying Nike or McDonald's or Starbucks when they were IPOs, when they first had their IPO, okay, you missed out on some significant amount of money. But I just said that if you bought into any of those three stocks with only $250 5 years ago, you'd still be making money. All these boats are still in the harbor. You can get on the boat at any time. So it's not about the math. It's about the mentality. The math is sound. I've done the numbers, right? The math is sound. So what's happening in your mind that's preventing you from getting on the boat? That's something for all of us to think about. That's it. I ran one more. I did Google. So 5 years ago, Google was trading at $1,000 per share. Now that's a bigger number than the other ones we talked about. Oh, so I should just mention Nike, McDonald's, and Starbucks are still relatively affordable. Nike is only $134 right now. It's less than $150 for a share of Nike. McDonald's, less than $250. And Starbucks, less than $100. So these are manageable in terms of acquiring a full share. That's it. Back to my lecture at hand. So 5 years ago, Google stock was $1,000. If you could have bought one share 5 years ago, the current price is $2,837. So that's easy math. You'd be up about $2,000, $1,800. Up about $1,800 over the course of 5 years. So that really begs the question, where will it be 5 years from now? Where will Google be 5 years from now? The boat is still in the harbor. Get on. If you can't buy a full share of Google, use a fractional service like Cash App or Robinhood to buy fractional shares of Google. Just get a piece. I'm doing the same thing. I'm buying Google in pieces, putting it on layaway on Cash App. Buy a little piece at a time, as I can, with the goal of owning a full share of Google. Within 5 years, because I know, it's Google. Like, where's Google going to go? Where's Google going to go? So even if you didn't invest way long time ago, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't invest now in any of these companies, any of these S&P 500 companies. So that's all I got to say, really. That's all I got to say, really. I mean, you've got to figure out who you are and how you want to invest, but I've given you a couple ways to approach it that are reasonably safe. And that's the thing. We all have to fight the programming that we've been socialized into, indoctrinated into, this idea that the stock market is a dangerous place where we can't put our money. I mean, I've been running the numbers for you right here. It's not that dangerous. It's not that scary. You just need to know what you're doing. You can't just buy a mutual fund and let someone else make all the decisions. You're not going to make money that way. You have to know which companies to invest in. And right now, the easiest thing to do is to remember to ride coattails and to use the S&P 500 as an indicator. Either acquire the S&P 500 as shares of the S&P 500 as a whole, or buy individual shares of some of the companies that are included in the S&P 500. But that's your playground. That's your relatively safe playground. So I think that's it. That's my recap for the week. I think I got everything. Just remember, the boat is still in the harbor. You have not missed the boat. You haven't missed the boat unless you don't do anything. If you don't do anything, then you've missed the boat. But find a way to invest in the boats that are in the harbor. The easiest way to do that is to participate in this envelope challenge. Just move a little piece of money every day, every weekday, over into that savings account, and then invest that money so that you can change your financial future. So that 5 years from now, you can say, yeah, I'm glad I got in on whichever of these stocks. I'm glad I got in. I'm glad I made that decision 5 years ago. All right. It's all about the mentality. Okay. So closing out, it's time for prayer time. And then at 10:30, it's time for Sit with Rev Melissa. I'll be producing that show. So I hope to see you there, and have a good weekend. Homework over the weekend. Think about what's keeping you from getting involved in the stock market. Like, what is the belief that's keeping you from making more moves in the stock market? That's homework for everybody. All right, keep doing. Be your own financial hero. Can't nobody else do it but you. And remember that now is better than perfect in terms of investing. Don't try to get it right down the road. Do something now. Keep doing something, because as you keep doing something, you learn more. Take it from me. I'm learning more every day as I keep dabbling in this. All right, so I'm way over time now. Let me close out. I'll see you Monday. Send me positive vibes over the weekend for my 300th run. I'll see you Monday.